Even for days, just give me one shot. Slaving all day, slaving all night.
How you doing, brother? I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, man.
Cheers.
Before we start anything, let's just have a cheers, man.
Right off the bat.
Episode 2, baby.
Okay.
What's this, dog?
We're classing it up today, actually. We're drinking a little Cassini Quattro.
Shit.
This wine's coming from Osoyoos.
Local.
Keeping it Okanagan Valley.
Yep.
It's a little bit of a blend.
Yeah.
Heavier bodied, drier. It's a Cab Sav.
Romancing me with the
of
fucking
course.
wine notes.
Little Cab
look at you.
Sauvignon,
Yeah.
Cab Franc, Merlot, and Petit Verdot.
I don't know what language Paulie's speaking. I think it's Latin-based.
It's a beautiful, beautiful blend.
Okay.
Typical of like kind of a Bordeaux blend, maybe with a little bit of a mix to it, but they do a good job.
Hey, man.
As long as you like it.
I love it, man. I'm happy about
There
it.
we go. Yeah, thanks Cassini.
Right on, man. Well, it's so good to be back, man.
It's nice.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us again.
Yeah,
Episode 2, Great Hearts Podcast.
we're pumped to be here.
Hey, we got a really extra special episode today.
It's gonna be extra special.
Yes.
For more reasons than one.
Extra special guests.
Extra special guests.
Extra special topic. Or theme, I think I should say.
Extra special drinks.
Oh, man. Bring those on.
Yeah. But speaking of the topics, I guess maybe we should just dive right into it and kind of what we're getting at, because I think we have a lot of content.
Oh, shit, man. Yeah, let's just jump into that, man.
Sure.
Like, I mean, right off top, hope everyone's having a, how about we say a productive and progressive 2021.
Totally. And I
know?
think this is like leading up to like our last podcast that we was like wrapping up 2020.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not that we're just like, what are your goals for 2021? Like, that's not really like the theme, but,
Sick
obviously
shit.
more of a, natural progression.
Yeah.
Hit them up. Let them know.
Well, what we chose today, because I think makes sense. I mean, you got 2020, and some people are so stuck in what 2020 was. But to us, I think I speak for you here,
Yep.
as that really the events of 2020 have led to conditions that are going to extend beyond 2020 into 2021. And I think one of the biggest things is obviously, want to throw the R word around, recession, but I think it'd be tough to deny that we're in a recession, right?
For sure.
Economically, the facts are there, look at the numbers, right? We feel it. As
Yep.
a shop, we feel it right now. You know what I mean? But the theme of today's podcast is actually recession proof,
Recession proof.
and how to recession proof parts of your life.
I'm not talking about no rap song either.
Well, I was. But
I don't
No,
think
we're not.
everyone knows.
No, we're not. We're not talking about no Yo Gotti,
No.
nothing like that. What we're talking about is how to recession proof things like your business,
Mm-hmm.
things like your relationship, things like your mental state. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of ways to recession proof yourself.
Totally. I think like the term recession proof, like even back like probably like 50 years ago
No.
plus, really involved the terminology of just speaking about, any industries or careers or jobs that were basically able to survive, let alone maybe thrive
Yeah.
in kind of like economic hardships.
Hang on,
So,
dude.
yep.
I made up a word the other day.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Not just for survival. It's like thriving. It's a thrival, bro. You like that?
Survival.
Yeah, you like that.
I do like. I haven't decided if I love it or hate it
Yeah.
quite yet. Like,
But I
I'm
kinda like it.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sleep on it.
But that's the point, though.
But-
It's not just enough to survive, though. You got motherfuckers trying to thrive out here, right?
No, 100%.
Right?
And that's what recession proof, like almost
means.
like in definition means. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like how do you thrive?
Yeah. In
Survive,
these tough times.
but let alone thrive in these tough times. Like, how does your business,
Yeah.
your career, your personal life, your relationships, how do those thrive in a time where there are hardships, whether they're economical, or like mental or
Physical,
psychological,
yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
whatever you're going through, whatever we're all going through, because there's a lot of hardships out there right now. What does it mean, or what does it look like to become recession proof?
So, I guess, we've talked about this so much in the last year.
Yep.
And I think we've talked about it on a lot of levels. I think, personally, one of the things that lately has really dawned on me is how can I recession-proof my mindset? You know what I
Okay.
mean? And
Yeah,
where
yeah.
I'm at it. Because before I can even get
This is
my
on like the
business-
personal level. Yeah.
Yeah. Like on a personal level, what can I do to insulate myself from these conditions, right? Because it's crazy. I don't know out there. You might know people watch, you might know them, but I'm telling you, man, people have been acting different during this time. And I mean,
it's real. That
shit's real, man. I
real.
mean, some people like, I used to clown like, man, this shit's fucking with people's head. Like, I don't know what's going on with someone. But more and more as I part of recession proofing myself is realizing that I have to be more sensitive to the people around me, a little more compassionate, but also not be so sensitive to how they're treating me. And I think that's been a tough dichotomy in a sense in this last year, because I mean, shit, man, people have been jumping out the window on some stuff. People get mad, they're frustrated.
Two sides to that, like sensitivity coin, you know, that
Right.
you're talking about, you know, like you were saying, like being sensitive to, you don't know where people are at, you know, you don't know what anyone's gone through.
Yeah,
and that's like any given day, any given
yeah.
year, you know, but let alone now,
Yeah,
today, what people are going through. Like you have to be a little more sympathetic, empathetic,
Yeah.
and kind of like, you know, you don't want to really be pushing shit that maybe isn't, you know, needed to be pushed in that exact moment. At the same time, how you're saying the other side of the sensitivity is not being so sensitive
Yeah.
to what's happening around you.
What they say to me is,
Sometimes. You know, like there's going to be a lot of things that are happening in this time, whether it's on TV, whether it's on social media, whether it's in your real life, whether it's at the coffee shop or in your job, you know, your boss.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of things that like might strike you the wrong way.
yeah.
But you shouldn't really take it that personally. So I like what you're saying with like, there's like, like how to be less and more sensitive in this time.
It's like being more sensitive but less sensitive at the same time. It's kind of crazy, like being more sensitive to others but less sensitive to what they do and say towards you. And I think one of the things that really, I think we can all agree, I mean, what's the number one stress in most people's life? Finances, right? So when you think about that, and finances are the number one stress, during a recession, people are obviously going to be more stressed.
Yeah.
Then you throw in worries about pandemics, you know, and you throw worries about family, people not being able to travel.
Yeah.
What did that do to someone's mindset?
100%.
Let alone mental health issues that were going on before this, they get compounded. And I know personally, it's like I've dealt with some people in the last year, for instance, and the anger and the frustration was really off-putting. You know what I mean? And it was very difficult not to get angry back at them.
You take things to heart pretty, I mean, Sean takes things to heart pretty, like it hits you home.
Well, I mean, to be fair, right? If you're passionate about somebody,
Of course.
something, and someone's gonna try to step on that,
Of course.
you know what I mean? Is like, I
Yeah.
pour my life into some shit. Like hell yeah, I take that to heart, man. That's
Yeah.
how I feed my family. That's how I do what I gotta do.
Yeah.
But one thing I think really it's been is like, okay, shit, dude might not have a job right now, and maybe he's feeling some type of way, pressed on all sides. Maybe his relationship sucks. Maybe he just had the Rona. I don't know what's going on.
Talking about someone maybe pushing you the wrong
Yeah,
way.
they're pushing me around, but who knows what they're going through, and now they're coming out their mouth at me.
Yeah.
And it took a little bit of while for me to start giving people more understanding and space during this time, because even though it's not fair,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's not like, oh shit, I wouldn't talk to you like that. Why are you going to talk to me like that? Man, be less sensitive, man. And this is back to recession proofing yourself. This is what I had to do for myself, and start to take a step back and be more understanding.
I think in the same realm, like it's like how you share your energy, you know, like where are you going to put your energy, and like so much of that needs to be yours, you know, and where you put it out in the world and how you show up in the world, I think is so important. And if you're, I mean, we talked about it earlier today, you know, just like we talked about that analogy of X amount of money that you have in the bank, you know, like let's say you have $46 million in the bank and someone, you know, takes $1,000 out of your bank. Like, are you going to be mad? Maybe. The
principle of the matter.
Yeah, like someone stole $10,000 out of your bank, you know, like, are you going to be mad about it? The principle of it? Like,
Hell yeah.
probably. Are you going to throw the rest of your money away? I
Just
hope
to get
not.
that 10,000?
Yeah, I hope
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
you know, but, and then like the whole, like the theme, the whole quote surrounding it is like you have 46 million seconds in a day or something like that. And like, you know, if something gets to you, you know, that 10 seconds or 10 minutes, like, are you going to throw away the rest of your day because that got to you? Or like, where are you putting your energy? You know, like, and so I think this is a great time to kind of like learn a lot of these lessons, because we have to be a little more conscious about people's feelings, and we have to be more conscious about where people are at, and we just don't know. Like, a lot of people are, you know, on their last straw.
They might not be in the right mindset. How do I even put it? Like, it's like, there was a part of me that used to be before this year, be like, well, I wouldn't talk to somebody like that. Why would they talk to me like that? That ain't right. But more and more what I've realized is like, although I wouldn't do that, I don't know what they're going through, so I can't even hold that standard anymore. All I can do is control, like you said, how I respond to it and where I put my energy. And I think big thing, recession proofing, bring a full circle is like, yo, man, full circle is do you have the energy to be thrown out the window on that kind of stuff? Is that best? Do you know what they're going through? And are you setting yourself for success? Like, I really can't say that I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could throw a bunch of cliches at you about why it's stupid.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
so recession proof, it's basically getting yourself right.
Get yourself right before you get your business
if we're
right.
talking about personal, first yourself,
personal. Yeah.
Get yourself right.
Yeah.
That's most important. So whatever that looks like, whatever that takes.
Dude, man, people are going through it. Like, I've noticed a lot of dudes, for instance, that might be in their 30s, in their 40s, that were solid dudes that I never had an issue with nothing. And I looked up to them dudes, and all of a sudden crumbling. You know what I mean?
My hometown, and I haven't been there in a while.
Yeah.
But like hometown Alberta, shout out to Medicine Hat. But there's like a lot of people, a lot of bros, a lot of, and I mean, some I know, some I don't know as well, but we have a lot of the same friends. But within like a few month period, man, like there was a handful of gentlemen that were taking their lives. And that shit hit hard.
Yeah.
It got real quick
Yeah.
in Medicine Hat. And I mean, there's a lot of different reasons out there, and there's a lot of struggles out there. And everything that's happening around us today is obviously a part of it, but there's so many underlying issues that like, man, like, and just through social media, platforms, like just like hearing and seeing what it was, like, like a lot of people didn't see it coming, man. Like, like you just don't know where people are at. So it's just so important to be
mindful,
kind and mindful,
and compassionate.
Yeah. So, and I mean, like you said, that's something we're learning every day, man. Like, and you and I both, we can get fired up about things all the time. We sit here and talk about like some guy just rubbed us the wrong way and he walks out the door and we're just like, spend the next 10 minutes talking about him. But what's the real, like it's changing that conversation and changing that mindset, which I think is important. But that takes time, and I'm glad that it's part of our awareness in our society.
Yo,
today.
I gotta give a quick shout out.
Yep.
I gotta shout out that dude who gave us our first 1-star reviews on Google Business.
I knew you were gonna
All
bring
we
that
ever
up.
had was 5-star reviews. See, this is the shit I got less sensitive about. Before I would have been right mad about that shit. But now I'm like, all right, dude, who knows what you're going through right now? And when we found out your name, we saw that you're in Japan and stuff, but you're not here yesterday.
Yeah.
Like you said you were. That's all good. I'm not so sensitive about that anymore. You know what I mean? 'Cause you just got to take it in stride, right?
Yeah.
Because you know what? A,
I feel like a year ago you would have taken that.
oh
like,
man,
that
I'd have been jumping out.
Oh man.
B, you ain't done nothing yet until you start getting fucking people hating on you, right? Like all first year was all roses and shit. Like people are
gonna be
supporting
haters,
you.
there's gonna be
But
imitators.
now you're doing shit when you start getting like hate.
It's all good, man.
So appreciate you. Not so sensitive anymore. Recession proofing.
It's a little bit of that eagle life, though,
Yeah,
right? Like
eagle life.
eagles fly higher.
Yeah.
So it's like when people are trying to like hate or imitate or anything, like like they fly to a certain extent, but like you're an eagle, and you just like all you can do, like you could come at
Love
them,
the eagle life, dog.
or you could just fly higher.
Yeah, buddy, let's
you
keep
know?
flying higher.
That's
But
just eagle life.
so, I pivot over to business because, that's where it goes.
That's the
Obviously,
personal
from
aspect. So that's you and me, yeah.
That's you, to business because you know what? That was the next big thing is how do you recession proof your business, right? And what's super dope is that today's guests have done an amazing job of actually pivoting their business
We have
during
some
a
amazing
recession.
guests, that we're gonna be.
Can't wait to
talking about.
introduce,
Yeah,
and
totally.
I'll let them tell us about it. But at the end of the day, one thing I do know about them is during this time, they were able to pivot their business and recession-proof
It's
themselves.
gonna be exciting to talk to them because they kind of had to go through a lot of the same things that a lot of us here and everywhere have had to go through.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a fun conversation.
So how about when we get back, let's introduce our special guest and have a little sit down, all right?
Sounds good.
All right, yo.
So boys, what we're doing for this cocktail, it's Mezcal Negroni. So we're using Siete Misterios, really good mixing Mezcal. We're gonna use Ancho Race, a little bit of heat with this, and we're gonna use Amaro no Nino. This is gonna be in place of our Campari. I find that Campari is gonna be far too harsh and bitter, so it's really nice to add notes of the bitterness, but a little bit of sweetness with it as well. So just like a classic Negroni, it's gonna be all equal parts. We're gonna go 1 ounce of Mezcal here. We're gonna go 1 ounce of our Ancho Race. My horse spout here needs some love. I'm gonna have to deal with that later. And then the Amaro no Nino. Absolutely love this stuff. And then our fun twist, of course, is going to be our coffee bitters. Call it Coffee. I'm sure you guys can correlate where that came from. We're going to go 2 dashes of that. This is really fun. We do local espresso beans, lemon, touch of vanilla. Really, really fun trio. Works really well with the Amaro. Coffee really helps with that caramel note. And then we're going to give that a fun little stir. So you really want to make sure that you're stirring this for the correct amount of, or the correct duration of time. A lot of times you'll go somewhere where they make an old fashioned or even a Negroni, and they just haven't stirred it long enough and the flavors really haven't emulsified together. So it's a matter of getting it really nice and cold, but then also getting all those flavors really happy together. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna strain it into here. We're gonna use our julep strainer, and then we're gonna garnish it with a grapefruit twist. But most importantly, we wanna make sure that we get slow dilution out of this. So we're gonna use a large ice cube. Ooh, slippery, it's been out for a little while. Fresh grapefruit with this guy. We've tried this with lemon, we tried it with orange. Found that the grapefruit has a little bit of that like floral note to it, which kind of makes it pop. Just want to get the oils right in there and then pop your friend in there and give that a little try. Cheers.
Okay, I think we're ready to introduce our next guests.
Yo. I just got word they're not coming on set until like we're at least 6 feet apart. So,
Pavel, can we make sure we got 6 feet?
please,
Where you at, Pav?
you got an inches to spare?
Let's check it out. It's just gonna be a minute. Sorry, guys. We appreciate your patience.
Hold on.
It's gonna be a second here. Okay.
Almost 7 feet.
7 feet. We're laughing. We're laughing.
All right, bring 'em out.
Okay. Born to Shake. Welcome to the house.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much.
We're gonna have to drink 4 drinks for a second.
Oh,
No. Thank you so much.
oh man. Cheers, man.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for being here, dog.
Thanks for being here, guys. Happy to have you on the show.
Good to be here.
Episode 2.
Yeah.
Well, first episode for us.
Episode 1 for you. Hang on, let me just. Whoa.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to show us how to make this later. This is something for real.
We'll show you the ropes. That one's actually special for you there, Shansky. That's the extra special.
What? Buddy, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just gonna drink and I'm gonna pass the microphone over to you, man.
I know we're just passing the mic on, so it's like I
Yeah.
can get a drink,
Yeah.
again. Yeah, you're like, I'll just take another swig here. Yeah. No, delicious. Thank you guys for bringing
course.
some drinks. Thanks for being on the show with us. Before we dive too deep into just like hanging out and chatting, like we were hoping maybe you can just tell our viewers and just like let us know kind of who you are, what you do.
Yeah, I guess that's $1 million question these days.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm Shane, and
I'm Nicole.
we're from Born to Shake. And yeah, I mean, what do? We do a little bit of everything. Like the whole kind of premise behind the brand is one-stop shop for cocktailing, especially here in Kelowna. We really just want to be
Right.
like we know how hard it is. I mean, Paul, you've been in the industry, like like is getting good product, getting good bar gear is just it's like pulling teeth, especially here. Like we're not in Vancouver. I mean, you got to spend hours looking on Amazon or like other places.
It's not
looking
that
for
far
shit. It's
away,
like,
but
no,
it's actually like so
I
difficult
know it's like
to get
just
good
because we're
product.
in the desert and
Amazon
the
be fucking
frickin'
up shipments
mountains.
crazy
Yeah,
right
don't.
now.
Yeah, don't.
It's hard to depend
Yeah.
on like the outside world in
It
terms
is.
of like
I'm
like
just
when,
saying,
yeah.
Yeah, we're not promoting Amazon, by the way. They're
And-
derailing.
I guess maybe even before that, what I should have asked is because, I mean, just so everyone knows, Born to Shake, if you don't know them, they do cocktails. They kind of like set up some good kits and everything in the world of actual like bitters and cocktails and events and a lot of different things. They'll explain a little more of what they do. But maybe a better question to dive deep into kind of what we're getting at here is, what was your dream for your company? Like, who did you want to be? And now, throughout this past year, what did that turn into? 2-part question. how did that become
deep.
recession proof, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, how about this?
You guys got layers.
Yeah, we got layers. How about this? Because straight
It
up.
should be called the onion.
Oh man, I think that's taken already. I think that's taken because real talk, like speaking from our perspective, like we can definitely say that where we were as a small business that just launched last year, where we started the year at. I mean, for everyone who's out there, started a business, entrepreneurs, cash flow projections, all this shit. You guys know what I'm talking about. When you had your business plan and what you saw for 2020, what it was, by the time March hit, what happened to it? Because we had to change our plan completely. We had to throw those numbers out. That wasn't a reality anymore. We had to just shoot that shit, keep it pushing, make a new plan. And I can only imagine what you guys had to do, seeing as you worked, working in an industry that was pretty much restricted and shut down in many ways.
Yeah. Well, we started as an events company. We had a full summer of weddings that we were about to take on as our first summer as an events company. So
Totally.
it was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking, but then also, I wouldn't say inspiring, but it put a fire under your ass to really kind of get your shit together and be like, okay.
So that was a bit of your platform was actually like doing events.
Yeah, so I kind of talk to your point, like start the unraveling of the onion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, I mean,
do that.
so Born to Shake, I mean, it was something that I kind of tinkered with for about a year and a half or a couple of years, just a little side hustle on the side. I wouldn't even say it was a side hustle at that point. It was really just like an idea. I'm from Vancouver, and I've been to my fair share of weddings and events, and
Totally.
There was just always this disconnect between an actual proper cocktail and then what you get at these weddings. It's like, why the fuck is it so hard for you to do something other than a mojito or a Cuba Libre?
And the person that's hiring you, or the person that has hired this company, is expecting good cocktails, and they're just pouring you highballs all night. Like, you're paying the same amount of money, but your bartenders don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Totally.
It's
It's kind of frustrating.
It's not even like they were expecting good cocktails.
As
It's
a
like,
wedding attendee,
Yeah.
that shit's so frustrating.
right? You're like,
Make good shit.
literally, it's like we really just wanted to try to move that post a little bit. It's like the expectation wasn't even there. It's like you started going to these weddings or you started going to these events, and you're just like, I know I'm just gonna end up asking for a mojito, hold the soda,
Or a
hold the
Ryan
lime,
Ginger with
and
like a.
so you just want a shot of rum. You're
like
like,
a-
let's
yeah.
get this over with.
You're gonna
Let's
get
to
a
the point.
cocktail in a plastic
Yeah.
glass with shitty ice and a really
It's
small
awful.
straw.
About my flask.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
And like you're gonna get.
Well, you do, and then
you're
you
gonna
run
get
out.
You're gonna get a can of beer that sucks, but no.
Brought another flask.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
funny, like even when you're saying that, like it's funny to think like something like a wedding or like a big event, like that you put so much time and money and effort into, like, and it's something that's supposed to be so memorable.
Yeah.
And then you get this like kind of like when you're talking about like it's not like there's anything wrong with like a Ryan Coke or a 7 vodka 7 or anything like that, but it's like at the most pinnacle point of your life or relationship, like wouldn't you want it to be the best?
Yeah, well, it's funny because and now I mean, we're kind of like going back and forth in timeline here, but like we fast forward a little bit, and so now we have this year and a half under our belt of doing events and obviously pivoting, which we'll talk about. But it's like these weddings that we're involved with, they're spending tens of thousands of dollars, and you're spending upwards of $100 per person on great food. You want to make sure your wine service is on point, and then they just shit the bed on cocktails.
Totally
And you're
bypass it all.
It's really a no-brainer. Like the amount of extra cost that goes into actually making, like, even I wouldn't even go and say like a beautiful cocktail, but just something that's like half better,
A good cocktail,
4 times
yeah.
better than a fucking gin and tonic.
Yeah.
Is not that much more
Drinkable.
more work.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So that's really, I mean, anyways. So that's the
was a bit
kind
of the
that opportunity
inspiration,
that we
yeah.
saw, and
Totally.
and then that kind of stemmed also from like I had started kind of just tincturing at home and messing around with bitters, and this was back in the day when you couldn't just go and get orris root anywhere or gentian. I'm scouring through Chinatown in Vancouver, and I'm like asking these poor ladies.
Sean's like, what's
yeah, you're like, what the fuck is that?
So was I. When we first started seeing each other, Shane was like playing around with all this shit. We took a trip to Chinatown, and I was like, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like this little Asian lady is just like climbing down a stairwell trying to find this thing, and Shane doesn't even know. Yeah, it was under the floor. She like lifted up this giant piece of wood, and she goes under, and she comes up with this bag of things, and she's like, gentian, and Shane's like, I don't know, and I'm like, do you know what you're looking for?
That's the stuff.
Yeah. And I'm like, sure. So I definitely made some rounds of bitters with that. I mean, they're in the trash now, but that was a few years ago. And it was just, it's funny to see how, like in the cocktail world, like home tincturing is just really like taken off. And like you see so many types of bitters companies now out there.
Yeah.
And, but we don't have a lot of local bitters companies. And so even with all of those brands, especially again, we're going to go back to being in Kelowna, the access to these brands is just like pretty much like far and few between. Like we've got Bittered Sling, and we've got Angostura, and like that's really just it. And you'd be lucky if you can get Ango Orange. Like there's like one spot. I think Mediterranean Market had it. I don't even know if they.
Can someone do me a favor and grab some of their bitters from the table so we can get those out here? If someone don't mind, man. Appreciate y'all, man. Let's get some of those Born to Shake bitters out here. So they're and Paulie, act like you're gonna stay a little while.
You're hot,
man.
yeah. Cool down. Have some of your.
Yeah, I feel like my dude's about to bounce on me, man. Yeah, man. Shout out Joint Powers.
So yeah, so
Let's
it
get
was
these out here,
it was
man.
twofold. It was like I started messing around with these at home.
Yeah.
And this was really before Born to Shake was even.
So
a
these
brand.
daddies right here.
These are some of our friends.
Yeah.
These
They're
are, these
my
are
friends
some
now,
of the
too.
latest and greatest.
Yeah.
These are
These are
I love you guys'
Well,
branding, by the way. Just like
you.
so simple, so clean. Yeah, it comes
Thank you.
across really nice.
We're in the works of. I mean, we've obviously everything's all handwritten and again, we'll kind of keep talking into this. The last year's been crazy for us, but we're working on, I wouldn't say a rebrand, but an update to all of the branding for the labels too, and gonna have different.
So as I say, I really like your branding. You're like, oh yeah, it's gonna
we're getting
change.
better.
Yeah,
We're getting better.
You're like, yeah, everything you like about it, we're gonna change the brand.
Absolutely not.
Yeah,
That is
like,
100% not what we're
Okay,
doing.
okay.
my hand is gonna fall off if I have to keep writing the labels.
Yeah,
and,
that's fair.
It's just on me right now. So
Holy.
Okay, well, why did you start handwriting all the
because
labels?
Shane writes like a 5-year-old. If you want to be able to read the labels,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta write them.
I understand how that feels. We have certain writing arrangements over here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us write like different than others.
Yeah,
Some of us are special.
yeah,
Extra special.
totally.
I like this. So bitters were hard to get, so we saw an opportunity with that, and that was really just selfishly. Like we had no intention of making product for anybody. It was really just we want to have good stuff, and you can't fucking get it. So the classic saying, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself.
Well, yeah, there was this event that we did last summer, and we were using Bittered Slings. What is it? They're cherry bitters. And we're walking out to the car, loading everything up, and I like fumbled the box, and the cherry bitters go flying and smash in our driveway. And I'm like, oh my fuck, how are we like nowhere sells these.
Yeah.
So we're calling around to all the bars. I think eventually it was either Micro or Jack's.
We ended up getting some from Jack's.
Jack's.
Okanagan Spirits.
Shout out
carried
Jack's
their
and Micro.
product.
They carried them,
Yeah.
but they didn't
They
discontinued it, and they didn't have them anymore. And we're like, fuck, like it's in a cocktail for the bride of the wedding that we're doing tonight. Like we got to find it.
Yeah.
Call around, we finally find them, and it's just like, why is it so difficult in a place like Kelowna where there's a cocktail scene, but there's like nowhere to get anything? So like, instead of having these crises, let's just make our own cherry bitters. Like let's make our own whatever we need for our cocktails.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry to interrupt. I just
No,
want to
go.
say what like just resonated when you guys said that right there was like the same thing with Paulie and I last year. You guys identified a need in the market. Recession or not, there's still needs out there. And I think which is so key to small businesses and local startups and stuff, like really identifying a need and zeroing in on that. And it sounds like you guys did that. That was like us with Denim in Kelowna and being like, fuck, man, where do you go for jeans?
Yeah.
Mark's Work Warehouse, Winners in the Bay.
Yeah.
Cool, dog.
Laughing.
Like we need to do something about that, right? So it sounds like
That's a problem.
That is a problem.
Shit, take your pants off.
These are Levi's? Okay.
Yo,
Boys
we
be proud.
fucks with Levi's premium red tab only, baby. But point being is it sounds like you guys identified a need in the market. So like, was that something when shit started going like, okay, fuck, we need to do something, and so you jumped into looking for a pivot, or was this something that was naturally on your radar, and then the recession forced you to make the pivot earlier?
A bit of both. So we used to use so we make all our syrups and our own bitters, and we would use them at events. And then Shane would do a cocktail class, and he would bring bottled syrups and bitters. If someone wanted to remake that cocktail at home after he taught them how to make it, he would be like, you can purchase these syrups and bitters. We never,
Right.
yeah, it was an easy upsell.
He's going to teach us later on these ones.
That's to come.
So
Stay tuned.
it was never,
We got a dangle.
it was never not in the plans, but it definitely wasn't something that we were going to do right away, or we were just getting in the swing of things with events. That's a whole, it's sort of like two completely different businesses, events
Totally.
and products.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So bottling and selling our products. So when COVID happened, and we probably spent about, I would say 10 days just being like, let's clean the house. We have a pond in our backyard. I cleaned that thing out. We organized the garage, and then we're like,
a pond in your backyard?
we got a pond.
You guys got a backyard?
No,
No, man. Tell me more. Yeah.
I feel like we're talking to people from
Sweet.
Vancouver. It's like,
You have a
talking about
pond?
like
You have green space?
I think you're talking about Alberta, where you're 20 years old and you have a
got your own
4-story.
bathroom? From Vancouver,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
got your own bathroom?
You got your own bathroom, man?
You guys have a shower
Yeah.
here, so you can just move in.
That's shop stuff. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead. Yeah.
So I don't even. Oh yeah. So we did a bunch of shit around the house, and then we're like, "What the fuck are we gonna do? We can't do events. It's not happening. What are we gonna do in the middle of this
And
pandemic?"
this is your business.
This is we didn't want to make
was
it was
year one.
we had a serious sit down, and we're like, "Do we want to do this? Do we want to do Born to Shake together? Is this something we want to take on?"
Guys, hang on. For the record, if people don't know this, you might not be able to tell by the body language, but Shane and Nicole are also partners.
Yes.
So this even gets to another level about doing business with your partner. So when they say this shit, it's an onion.
There's some depth to it.
There's layers to this. Peel those back.
That wasn't always the plan. Shane started this. It was on the back burner for years. It was a dream for him, and then we started doing it full time or part time with our side gigs. And it was I was helping him with every event, and he's like, we should just do this together. I couldn't do this without you at this point, so let's just do it together.
Yeah.
And
All
then
money in, baby. Keep it in the family.
I don't know, within 6 months later, everything went to shit in the world. And it was 10 days of sitting around doing nothing and just putzing around the house. And then we're like, okay, if we want to let this business die, that's all. Or we can put our asses in gear and get some shit done, and let's do products, because people ate that shit up. We would be selling cocktails at a market, at the homegrown market, and people would be like, "Can I buy this?" And we'd be like, "Sure." So we started bottling a little bit of stuff, and we'd sell out every time. So we're like, okay, there's definitely
Something
a need for
here.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. People want it. And then
Yeah.
cocktail kits, because everybody couldn't go to bars, they're sitting at home and they're just dying for a good cocktail.
Turns out that it ends up being a really good, smart move, because
Absolutely.
they can't have drinks at a bar. So now they're looking for ways to have their own cocktails or do their own thing. Not everyone's a bartender.
yeah. And it's funny because the path that we chose for that route was inherently different than any of our competitors. And when we say that, I mean people in Vancouver, some of the businesses out there, our competitors here in Kelowna. And by that, I mean, aside from the party pouches that we did for Jack's,
Right.
Which you guys have had, we I drink.
bit.
Yeah,
Had
I
a
drink,
couple,
yeah. We didn't do any pre-batch cocktails, and not just because of the liquor.
Restrictions on-
restrictions
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff, and I know that the competitors don't do that as well. But I mean, we don't mix all the flavors together. We put really beautiful syrups and bitters together, but we give you recipes to be your own mixologist at home. That.
Totally.
That's the premise behind our brand, and that's what we've really grown into. Really understand that's what we want to project.
Yeah.
Is we want you to have the tools to be successful at home.
Yeah.
So it's here's a cool recipe, here's some beautiful product, here's an idea as a starting ground, and then have your own fun. If you want it a bit more sweet, add some more syrup. If you want it a bit more tart, add some citrus. If you think we're idiots and don't buy our product, it's do your thing. It's you want it a bit
Or
stiffer.
just take the syrups and bitters and make something that you like, because you don't have to make that cocktail. Everything is
malleable.
You can
Yeah.
make whatever you
Yeah.
want.
And
do it yourself.
totally, and then that
Do it yourself.
Yeah, and that just it caught on. It was really well received here in town, and it was just fun. It was cool, and people were their own bartenders, and that's obviously progressed to we touched on at the beginning about being the one-stop shop for cocktailing, and then
Yeah.
well, okay, so we've solved the like amazing product, we've solved the recipes, and we've started building out recipes on our website. But it's like that missing link is the bar gear. Again, like, where are people going to do it? And so our consulting clients that we had, we would be like, hey, here's a cheat sheet of links for where to go buy, you know, like good stuff, which is what we use. But like, we're missing out on fucking money here. Like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
And it's like, even then it's like, okay, well, you're at the, you know, whim of another business, and like, are they going to have inventory? They're not going to have inventory.
Yeah, we would like do a consulting gig, and then we'd be like, here's the list of links, and they'd be like, we can't launch the cocktails that you made for us because that one link they're sold out. Where else we get it? And then it's just more work for us. We're losing out on money, and it's just like disappointing people. We're like, we just need to cut out all the middlemen and just do it ourselves.
It's like slowly but surely, like you took over that like bit of like whole niche market where you're like, hey, people want drinks, let's make drinks for them. Hey, people can't
Make the
we can't make drinks for them, let's make it accessible for them to make drinks on their own. Hey, they need product and they need equipment, and basically like throughout it all, like you took over that whole thing where it's like, hey, like everything you need we'll provide for you in one kit.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's cool. It's funny, and how you were saying before, and I think we can definitely relate to this. You guys were bartending. It was your kind of like idea, and then Nicole started helping you, and then it became like a side hustle, and then COVID hit, and all of our industries kind of died. Like I was bartending as well. Like, you know, we started this shop. Sean was still doing like film. I was still bartending. Like it was part of the business plan. You know, like
having a side hustle is part of your cash flow projection. Is it not true? Like
absolutely
supplementing your income.
Yeah. It's still bread on the table, you know, and like, you know, of course we have dreams, and probably for you and I, like we all, like, you know, I can speak for the three of us and for yourself probably in your industry, but like we're grateful for that industry because of what it did for us and, you know, where it got us, because without it, like we needed it, you know. But then when all that like shit hit the fan and we didn't have it anymore, then it was like, okay, we had these side hustles. And for us, it became like our primary hustle. But like, you know, for you guys, it was a side hustle that you were like considering like exit strategy. Like maybe this could be like a thing. Maybe this could be like our thing, like our real deal. But then suddenly like all your other like all the other eggs in the basket, they're gone. You know, like you don't have that option anymore. So suddenly it's like, okay, are we either gonna make this work? Is this it? Or is it like, you know, like it's like
literally.
Yeah, real quick. That shit goes from being a hobby to a necessity right quick. You know what I mean? And like straight up, when shit's no longer a hobby, like from our side, you know, like how many people is like, oh yeah, you know, I fuck with fashion, you know what I mean? Like they go to Value Village and they resell it on Facebook Marketplace, or they, you know, I don't know, get some shirts printed at Bang On t-shirt, like, you know, all good. If that's your hustle, like keep doing you know, it's all goody. But at a certain point, if you're gonna step it up to take over because you don't got no income, it's got to be more than a hobby.
Yeah,
and it sounds like what y'all did.
You pay for this space, like it's not.
Yeah,
you pay for itself.
And like speaking, but speaking of like recession proof, like, you know, like that being the theme today, like isn't that almost that first innate part of it is like when shit hits the fan, like where you at? You know, like are you ready to go? Are you like, you know, like, are you ready to like turn that light switch on, or are you just kind of going to buckle and be like, things are a little bit tough right now, you know? So I feel like that's the first one, you know, and then past that, I mean, I'm sure you guys can speak to that, but past that, like what is kind of now, like today we've heard from you in terms of like where you were and how you got here and this, like, but like what are you guys doing now, like, you know, because
2021 vision,
because there's a long road ahead of us, you know, for all of us.
Wait, you mean everything's not okay now that it's 2021? I thought
Fine. It was a hard stop to
as long as there's 6 feet between us, everything's all good, man.
Everybody said that. Everybody said we just have to make it to midnight, December 31st. They said January 1st, 2021 was going to be different.
I was in my pajama pants, and I was like, woke up, and I was like, I'm having a good day today.
It reminds you of
I
like
thought this year's gonna be awesome.
it's like Y2K all over again, except the complete opposite. We thought the world was going to
Then it's
blow up
Y2K1.
but we thought the world was going to be okay now. It's still fucking bullshit.
First, it was like flowers blooming, everything was
guess
gonna be
what?
fine, birds are chirping.
Guess what? I've been telling people, I'm like, yo, 2020 is like an 18-month year. This shit is not going to stop at January. That shit's going to go all the way to like June to July.
Honestly,
at least.
if we get any kind of normalcy for summer, I'll be stoked.
Yes.
Ditto.
Yeah.
ditto.
That'd be extra
like-
special.
That'd be extra special. Yeah.
So yeah, no,
We're
I
gonna
like.
have to get him a T-shirt made with
Please
the
do.
cocktail extra special.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yo, but straight up, like he was saying, and I think for us, you know, like obviously you do your planning. Tell us what's your guys' kind of vision for 2021 for Born to Shake, and if you wouldn't mind, can you kind of elaborate on some of like why, like the lessons you learned from the last year and how they drove
Yeah.
you in that direction?
Yeah. Go for it. Take it away.
Take it away, Shane.
Lessons.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, we were very fortunate with our position. Like so with us being an events company, kind of the whole premise behind that was we wanted to bring the party to you, right? Like the whole thing was not have overhead. You know, by not having overhead, you keep your costs low, and then you know you're lean and you're lean and ready to go, and that's what we went into the recession with, and it served us, you know, very very greatly. Like we didn't have to worry about rent. We didn't have to worry about employees. In fact, we gained employees through COVID, which people, you know, can't really say.
Wow,
for the most part.
congratulations. That's
Yeah, it was
that's a
crazy.
big deal, man. Yeah.
We had some like really awesome people that were living in our basement suite that were unemployed because of COVID and just helped us out. Like
Yo.
we probably wouldn't have been able to do this without them. We definitely
Wouldn't have. Yeah,
Definitely.
shout out to Cortland.
Corlin and Anna.
Yo, man.
Definitely. Like
Real
straight
Real
up.
quickly, I always heard you're not a boss until you help other people eat. So y'all are helping other people eat. That makes y'all bosses.
Yeah.
Bosses. Boss moves, baby.
Okay.
Shout out boss moves, Eddie.
Cheers to fucking that. There
Cheers,
you go.
man. I drank my shit up already, man.
Special cocktails already done. Jesus.
We're gonna go.
I got number 2 here.
We're gonna
Get
hit
those
a break in about
RTDs
2
going.
minutes, so I think
Maybe.
we'll replenish you in a bit. But if you guys
Yeah.
just want to like,
Yeah.
How
of
about this,
course.
yo? There's at least
So-
2 more questions that I want to ask them for sure.
Yeah.
So why don't we take a quick break now? We'll refill on the drinks, and then we'll come back
Yeah.
and we'll ask them about 2021, and then our last question for them.
Sure.
All right? Is that fair, dog?
That's good.
We'll finish the conversation.
Okay, let's do
Sounds
that.
good.
Okay,
All right.
cheers.
Cheers. So this cocktail here, this is made special for our boy Sean over here. We got you. Yeah. So for the Hennessy Man, we wanted to do something same but different. So we've taken rather than using cognac, using a cognac, I should say, we're using a brandy made from Okanagan Spirits. It's their Bradshaw Plum. We're gonna use Sons of Vancouver, their Amaretto. Absolutely gorgeous. This is hands down the best Amaretto I've ever had in my life. And then we're gonna use a spicy rye, again another Canadian guy, Lot 40 from Ontario. And then we're using yours truly, our Mountain Man bitters. This one's really fun. It's cedarwood, a touch of lemon, a little floral fun in there. And we're gonna finish it with a little mist of absinthe. The anise is really gonna tie all the flavors together. Really cool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with, I need my jigger over here. Good thing it's close by. We've got equal parts of the brandy with our amaretto. Also, just got a little note here from our camera friend that I shouldn't smash the bottles down, so I'm going to be a little bit lighter with that. Then we've got our Lot 40 rye. We like using rye with these types of cocktails. It adds a little bit of spice to it. The sweetness from a bourbon might overpower it, especially if you're using amaretto. And then we're going to go our Mountain Man bitters. We're going to go 2 dashes of these guys. I'm going to give it a little stir over here. And then while that's happening, we can kind of get our atomizer going and get some absinthe. This is also from our friends at Okanagan Spirits. I can already smell the absinthe. This anise is just so nice. Then we're gonna finish it with another big ice cube here. Want that to not dilute any more than it already has. And then the piece de resistance is gonna be just a little fresh
old lemon for your nose. We're gonna pop that in. Cheers. The extra special.
Okay, well, first of all, we're back enjoying some of this. The extra special, correct?
Extra special.
Holy fuck, it's extra
Cheers.
special,
This
man.
was
Cheers,
made-
man.
made
This-
made for you.
For
Yo,
you.
Thank you guys so much.
I don't
Yeah.
know how you knew me in a drink. Like, you just wrapped me up in a drink and served it to me, dog. And I don't even know what to say right now. I'm like
Yeah.
humbled right now, yo.
Yeah.
Holy
Paul
fuck.
messaged us last night and was like, he doesn't like gin and vodka. And I was like, we got you.
We got you.
Don't even
No
worry
fear.
about
Honestly, these are delicious, and I mean everything. You,
Man, I'm tickled right now. You know what I mean? I'm fucking tickled,
She just
dog.
called it the extra tickle.
even like even yeah.
We were just gonna
even
call
s-
it Sean's sauce, but then
I think the extra special is better. Yeah.
Keep it extra special.
Even starting
It's
last
plenty
summer, I
and
mean,
more on
I've known you
side.
guys for a little while now, but even last summer when you guys started hitting us up with some of your kits, some of the margarita kits, like maybe like mid like August when it was like crazy hot out, and we were having like it was. So we've been drinking your cocktails for a minute
For a
now.
while. I've been in the sauce for a while from them.
Yeah. So we appreciate
Yeah.
your goods and the quality of it. I know you have a few questions that you want to touch on. Before we do, I kind of just wanted, I had to just like, while we were taking a little break, I had a fun little, coming from the bar industry and you guys also as well, obviously. I just wanted to ask you one little question. Do you guys have any go-to bar jokes? That like, do you have like a go-to bar? I just felt like Shane, like, and like maybe each have one. Like if you do, we have time. So like, do you have like a joke, like a bar joke, like you know?
Like an icebreaker?
No, I'm talking about like maybe an icebreaker, but I'm thinking like, you know, well, like like a guy walks into a bar, you know, like that kind of, you know, like kind of joke. Like, do you have one that you know or like a go-to?
Don't. I
You
know.
don't?
I know.
Oh,
It's
no,
awful.
this is-
I know. No, it's.
I was really
No,
hoping.
Paul, the thing about me is that I've got
Okay.
dad jokes for days.
Okay,
but
shit.
it's like it has to come to me. Like it has to
Yeah.
be like situational. I'm like,
Right.
like more like
Really? Because
kinda
man,
quick,
I just have like back pocket
like
stuff.
it's like as soon as like
Okay.
as soon as you just say like, oh, a guy walks into a bar, I'd be like, ow, that hurt, you know, like,
Or like, or here's- yeah.
That's the bar
Yeah,
dad joke.
yeah. Or like 2021, be like, guy walks into a bar, I'd be like, oh, I'm jealous. Like, that's a good one already. Like, that's already decent.
Oh, damn.
Okay,
Or you could go like bleak, and you from the server perspective, be like, I'm sorry, it's only 6 people. Yeah, guy walks into the bar, yeah, only 6.
yeah.
That's
Sorry, you
it.
can't have all your friends here.
No. Okay, I'll give you. I thought you guys might have had a couple, but I'll give you one of my favorite ones. Yeah, I know. I have.
We're born. We're
That's
born.
right. I learned that last podcast.
Paul, we're
yeah.
born to shake, not born to joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, I'm gonna be born to shake a joke right here. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you one, and I'm gonna give it to you, and I'm a little hesitant because it's a 50-50 one where it doesn't come across half the time, but you know what? I'm just gonna go for it.
One of us is gonna laugh for
That's
sure.
right. It's
That's
one
how
of
it
my
works.
favorites.
That's
Okay,
33%.
so the setup's there. So a penguin walks into a bar.
I love it already.
Had Nicole, yeah.
Just stop there. Stop there. Yeah.
Yeah, penguin.
Penguin walks into a bar. He looks around, you know, taking a peek around, and he walks through, and some of these old guys are looking at him like, whatever. And so he walks up to the bar, and you know, the bartender, you know, goes up to him and says like, what can I do for you? And the penguin says like, hey, I'm looking for my brother. Have you seen him? And he says, the bartender says, what's he look like? Sorry.
Like penguin, I'm guessing.
That's it.
Oh yeah.
Polly's on fire, baby. He's here all night, folks. He's here all night.
I don't know why you asked us for jokes when that's what you had up your sleeve. I'm
It's
upset.
because we could have said anything.
I have more. I just thought that was one of my.
I like it.
The best penguin joke.
Nick-
The best.
Nicole loved.
I
Did you
walked
say
into
that was
a
the
bar.
best penguin joke? Like, how many penguin jokes do you know?
I also was following it up.
You have
with
another penguin
the
joke,
best
actually?
Man walks into a bar joke, but
Thank you.
A+. Thank you so much for gracing us that.
She literally never gives out the plus on that. So
Yeah, Shane would know his jokes are all dad jokes, so dad gets an A- always, even if it's really good. Mostly a D.
I was gonna say A- is probably like
This
that's
penguin was
pretty up.
following all restrictions, and he was over 19, and
Yeah,
protocol.
of course.
Yeah, all protocols.
He wasn't flying that night.
Man, I don't know what I'm missing not working in the bar industry, man. Y'all are too much. Y'all are too much, man. Okay.
Anyways,
Okay, so I had two questions.
Yeah, there you go.
First question.
Yeah, I feel like a genie.
First question. So, right before we went to break, the question was asking you, what was your guys' brand vision for 2021? And how much, if you can relate it to lessons you learned from 2020, please do.
Yeah, I would say that like lessons learned from 2020 is like run as lean as possible. Like we've really been pushing off getting like our own space as long as possible. I mean, obviously you kind of find that it's an equilibrium between, you know, time spent taking your shit to a commercial kitchen and packing it all up and blah, 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 whatever, and then bringing it back. And then also with the money that you'd save from having that overhead. So that's that fine line. So I'd say run as thin as possible. And we really just couldn't have expected how well this strategy of not making pre-batch cocktails would have been for us. Like,
Cool. Yeah.
like there were so many times where we're just like, why don't we let's just do one, you know, like let's just do.
The pouches were a perfect example of that. It was like they took off like crazy, and we were like, maybe this is something we should be doing. Like maybe we should just put these in bottles, and maybe this would have a better. Like maybe the people there's people out
Okay,
there.
stop. Did you say packages like adult Capri Sun
Adult Capri
packages?
Suns.
Like adult Capri
Did you not
Suns?
see those?
Yes.
Well, we put them in. We put them in glass bottles for you guys because you didn't want to have the plastic, which I totally appreciate because 99% of the
But the
reason
kid
why
in
we
me
didn't
would
wanna
have
do it-
given anything for adult Capri packages.
That was
But
that was
pretty badass. Like seeing when you guys did those little like.
It's very nostalgic for me.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's exactly why. Like, so we had a friend of ours who was helping us with some like photography and like branding stuff at the beginning. She reached out to us and she was like, "Hey, would you be able to do something like this?" And we're like, "It's not really on brand." Like,
I was like hard no.
Shane was like, "Fuck no, we're not doing this. It's not on brand." Like,
one use plastic. I'm
You
like,
didn't
fuck
do Capri
that shit.
Sun as a kid or something? Fuck.
No, I did, but that was before I knew about how harmful that was. It's like you're just fucking throwing shit out all the time. Like I'm gonna have this one juice pack and it's done. At least then it was metal. It was like partial metal, right? This is just pure plastic.
I mean, you couldn't do anything with it then because it was half metal, half plastic.
1995.
But a dream
Like,
was born.
Yeah, that was when there wasn't as many people on the planet. Now we have to be a little bit more concerned. And like I love that you guys didn't want the plastic because that's why we didn't want to do it. And like we
Well, I
put
kind of did, but it was that other.
It
didn't-
also
you didn't have an option.
It didn't seem on brand for us
yeah, we gotta
either.
do
Like
Definitely.
when we were like,
you know?
yeah,
But I
sustainability
kinda
all the
did.
way. And so yeah, it was like they took off so well and we were like, this is crazy, like maybe this is something we should do, but sticking to the original plan that we had was definitely the best thing for us to have done.
I also just sorry to interrupt. I just want to say that we took back every single one of those pouches that we did make, and we rinsed them out and brought them to the recycling depot.
good for you.
Yeah,
there you
shout
go.
out Born to
Including
Hell yeah.
all the ones that were
That's
at
integrity.
Jack's, which was like a ridiculous amount of pouches that Jack's went through.
It was disgusting.
It was insane.
Great for us, but
Yeah.
it was disgusting.
Just and like when we went to go recycle
Thank
them
you
at
for
the-
buying all those pouches, Jax. Yeah. But-
Thank you, Jax. Really appreciate you. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Casey. When we brought them back to the depot this summer, they were like, "Are you guys Born to Shake?" And we were like, "Are we famous?"
The one and only.
Yeah, that's us. We're just like in our shitty clothes, like doing our you know how everybody did probably their like quarantine return. Shane and I were doing our quarantine return, which is probably worse than anyone else in Kelowna.
What do you mean?
Like a
I
bottle-
put my bottles in the alley, dog. That's my quarantine return. Like,
Okay.
daily.
You don't want to look at it. You're like, I don't want to be a part of this. You're like,
We live in a cul-de-sac. It wouldn't have
they
gone
got a
over really
backyard.
well.
a backyard and a fountain.
and a
Yeah.
fucking pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did they say, like an 8-foot
Our
hot
entire-
tub?
our
I can't
entire
remember the-
shed-
I go to the whole
We-
fucking bottle
What
depot.
a
They don't
fancy
got
our
fucking
houses.
people in the alley. You don't
Yeah.
have an alley
Yeah.
where they live.
Our foyer didn't have enough space for like, you know.
The koi fish were upset with how many bottles
the
we had.
metallic plastic was like from the sunroom was just like like the color wasn't. Yeah.
The waterfall's feng
reflection.
shui was a little
Yeah,
off.
It was the feng shui was off.
Feng shui's all
Yeah.
Our pool, you know, it just we don't have a pool.
Yeah.
I'm just fucking with you.
It is. It's got
Yeah,
full
it's
of
sold
goldfish
it.
and koi fish.
Fish, yeah, you can swim with the fish if you want. It's not
There
very
you go.
deep. I would
Yeah.
know. I cleaned it in quarantine.
It's taller than you, which is
We didn't
taller
ask you
than
to
a lot
code
of
it
things.
to make us jealous. Holy fuck! I feel like I'm failing life. Come on.
So, anyways, we brought all these bottles back, and well, I don't even know where I was before we talked about koi fish.
We were talking about the party pouches and how it wanted us to like go down the route of these RTDs, right? And
There was inspiration there. Yeah.
and
yeah.
we were like, fuck, like maybe we just, do a couple of those. And we're like, no, let's just stick to what we're good at. This was really fun. It got us a lot of good traction. It was great branding. And we stuck to the premise of give the people tools to be successful. We want to create, we just wanted to bridge that gap between the cocktail that you can get at a cocktail bar and what you can do at home. It's like, there's no reason why you need to be drinking gin and fucking soda at home and put way too much lemon juice in because you think you're fucking fancy, but you have no idea what the fuck you're doing, right? And then going out and spending $20 on a cocktail. It's like, no, we'll give you amazing product, get some good spirit. Don't buy Smirnoff. Don't buy fucking bottom of the barrel shit, and follow a recipe, have some fun, and then do your own thing.
Shit.
And so that really, we really just, that was our pillar.
Yeah.
And we took that and ran with it. And we didn't, we could not have predicted how well that would have, been for us and how many other arms out of branched out to. And so when I say for that, so we're thinking about 2021. That premise allowed us to be able to do cocktail classes online, right? So there was a lot. 2020 was this roller coaster of lockdown to being free to more
Glimmer of hope.
restrictions. It was fucked, and we were just on this ride. And we kept predicting, but you couldn't fucking predict anything 2 weeks in advance, right? And especially after the summer, come September, it was like the wild, wild west of running a business. It was fucking nuts, and especially in the service industry, where you're okay, we need to be in people's spaces. Nicole had a brilliant idea throughout the summer where, it was kind of where all of the events were minimized, and it was no more than 50 people, and when you're thinking about these massive weddings that we were a part of, there were supposed to be 150 to 200 people weddings. You're okay, now you've got 50 people at this wedding, and those 50 people are it's strategic, right? Yeah. If we can't bring in 10 people to do a beautiful cocktail service for you. It's it's two.
It was me or him. It wasn't both of us. And that was interesting because it was we always worked as a team at events, and I would help him set up, drop shit off, set the bar up, and then I would have to leave and he would do service by himself because it was we can only have one bartender. We have 49 guests coming or whatever.
So now we're thinking, okay, well, how do we be at more weddings? How do we be at more events without actually being there, without taking up that body space? So Nicole's well, why don't we just do these drop-offs? I'm like, oh, actually, that's a pretty fucking good idea. So that's when we saw how well our cocktail kits had performed. And so we kind of merged the event portion with our cocktail product portion, which we'd never really done before. And we're how do we put this together? Yeah. And so what we did was we did these contactless, we called them our elopement packages. And so what we did was we would come, there's a lot of Airbnbs, people who were coming in from out of town, because thanks to our city, we didn't restrict anybody coming in. We don't talk about.
We'll
July
talk about
1st.
that a
Yeah,
little
we're not
later.
going to talk about that.
Don't worry, we might talk about that a little later. That's for us to talk
But
about
anyways, so we would show up to an Airbnb, we'd show up to your wedding, we'd show up to whatever, and what we would do is we would set up the bar as if we were there, give you all the bar tools, this beautiful setup. Nicole worked really hard, made a beautiful menu. And on the back, we would have all the recipes.
You showed them how to do it themselves.
Exactly. So we'd lean on our cocktail kits that we got a lot of traction from. And then what we did is we turned that into a DIY event.
That's cool.
Right? And then it's charge you for drop off, come for the pickup. Here's all the ice, everything you need, do your own fucking bar. And then boom, Bob's your uncle, go, right?
Yo, I feel like a kid in school real quickly.
Yeah, go. Hit me.
Quick question.
I mean, don't hit me, but you can ask me.
Quick question.
Yes.
Did you guys tie that into your guys' actual classes? Because what I'm hearing here, and maybe just a couple drinks got to me and I think I'm a genius, but I was whoa, did they like teach these people how to make the drinks themselves and then go there and then put the spread out for them and then let them serve themselves? Or did you like put it out there and kind of give them an impromptu like tutorial? Or
Yeah, I like it's like threefold. Yes to all of those questions.
Yes.
We would show up, and the cocktails that you were getting, like the recipes that I'd put on that picture frame. So somebody chooses that they want to play bar. There's always somebody in an event that's worked at a bar, or they're like,
charge them to go to classes?
no, we didn't, not those ones, because these are our cocktail kits that are supposed to be like super easy. The recipe cards say exactly how to make it. So like the oh honey, you do what you're doing. It's
1, 2, 3.
yeah,
wham,
done.
bam.
Exactly. So everything is outlined on that recipe card that we give you. So anybody should be able to make it. Then we took the cocktails and we turned them into cocktail classes. So we would send you, like, I'm sure Shane was getting to this. And this is how something kind of like those events that we did where we were like, here's the tools that you need to be successful, have fun, turned into, let's show you how to make like a beautiful cocktail at home. So over Christmas, we were, well, specifically Christmas, but through the holidays, we were doing these cocktail classes. And this is really what like catapulted us into like being really busy this holiday season. Yeah.
It really took off like early fall. We had we did our first like Zoom cocktail class probably in May, like right after we started getting all this going, all of the cocktail kits going.
Well, it was really once people just like, there was like corporate budget to spoil their clients, but they didn't have anywhere to take them. You can't
A lot
go
of people
anywhere. You
weren't
can't
having
take
Christmas
10
parties.
Yeah, you
Nobody
can't-
was having, yeah.
Yeah, you can't take people out for dinner. From like May onward, it was just
Yeah.
like, what do
So
we do with this
people
budget?
had to do it at home or
Exactly.
at the office
Exactly.
or in their small little bubble of workspace or whatever it was. So
Exactly.
they were looking for, you
Yeah.
know, an avenue of like, how can we still have fun? How can we still have like an event without having like bartender going to a bar, you know?
Exactly. So like, how can you take care of your clients that you want to wine and dine without being able to do that? So we started doing these cocktail classes online. We would ship you all of the things you need to make a cocktail, or usually two, and then they would ship them the alcohol. We would give them all the bar gear, like everything you need to make this cocktail, recipes included. And then Shane would jump on a Zoom call and teach them how to, like, walk them through how to make each cocktail separately, talk about the spirit, talk about everything. So like, it was like an in-person cocktail, but large scale. So it combined what we did before, which was cocktail classes. We were doing cocktail classes before, but now we were providing them all the product that we need, that they need to make it,
That you guys produced?
that we were making.
See, that's the genius
exactly
right there. You
this
produced
is
the stuff that they needed with the classes to provide the experience.
exactly.
The A to Z.
Gold right
Yeah.
now.
The A to Z, right? Like, yeah.
This was definitely like when two worlds collided in our business. Was like, we do cocktail classes and we do products, and now all of a sudden we can teach people how to do beautiful cocktail classes online with our products. These are all cocktails.
Coincidentally, they need your product to do it. Yeah. Just, and your instruction. Yeah.
You see these folks? This is lessons on how to recession-proof your business, though. That's what this is.
That's exactly it.
Full circle is. Look what you guys have done. You've shown ways to pivot your business. You've shown ways to offer an experience when people can't go out. You've given it to them virtually. You've come in there in a limited capacity in person. You guys have filled the void. You've identified the needs. You've made the products, and then you put it together in one program. That's a beautiful thing, folks. If you guys are a small business, you're trying to figure it out, you guys take some notes from Born to Shake, man.
And very 180 from what you initially planned to. Yeah, exactly. Great way to put it, you know, like, and very 180 from what you were like, you know, trying to initially do. Like, you guys were trying to be like very like personable, and we want to like have an event with you, and we want to like, you know, take care of you, where it's like, now it's like, yo, like we're just like, we're out of the picture. Here's the product. Here's the instruction. But exactly, yeah, behind the scenes we are. But at the end of the day, you're just like letting them, you know, ride their own ship there. You know, like where, yeah.
And I would say that
I was just gonna hold it for you, but you go. No, you hold it. I'm
my arm's tired. Yeah, Nicole and I have kind of been chatting about this over the last couple of weeks. Do we even want to do events anymore? You know, like, do we?
Right?
So this
Like,
back to the 2021 vision.
This is the 2021 vision. Is just like, I don't think that we're going to be pushing very hard for events. I think that we'll be more selective than we were even in 2020 for the events that we were going to take.
I should say that if there's some wedding planners out there that are listening to this, we'll still do your weddings, and specifically Nicole.
Is she on her grind still? Yeah.
Don't worry.
This is why.
Yeah,
Enough said.
I think that we've got a lot of coals on
Holler
the
at
fire.
'em.
We got a lot of coals on the fire.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you guys wear a few hats.
there's a lot of hats.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hats.
There's a lot of people out there that we loved working for
Yeah.
that like they create this beautiful vision for a wedding, and we just literally show up and make good cocktails. And it doesn't take much to do that. Like Shane has a passion. Well, we both have a passion for making beautiful cocktails, but this is something that Shane has always wanted to do. Showing up and making good cocktails for people who appreciate it is something that we'll do forever, because you don't always find people that love what you do as much as you do. And there's people that hire you to do that shit, and you'll take that every day
I
of
love
the
what
week.
you do as much as you do, I think. If you
So
do extra
there's
special.
wedding planners that they'll always do events for, but like we're just speaking about me. Like this is literally in the last week that we're like, maybe we won't like search for more events. Maybe this is just something that we should just accept, that this is something that catapulted us to where we are, and COVID is the reason why we're doing products and not events. But maybe this is just how it was supposed to be.
Well,
you know.
Totally.
that's
Yeah.
true, and I love the way you guys wrap that up. You know what I mean? Shit, so many lessons, you know what I mean, for so many small businesses to think about, and just entrepreneurs and in the hospitality industry, and just loving how you pursued your passions. And you know what I mean? Like all you can do is work with what's given to you. You know what I mean? You guys worked with what's given to you, and the direction kind of reveals itself. You just got to have, I guess, the strength and the motivation to follow it. You know what I mean? So that's fucking dope, man. Like, first of all, shouts out to Born to Shake for doing your thing. You guys are, you guys inspire us, you know what I mean? To see people that we know in the community really pushing it, like you guys, inspires us to do us. I'm probably say the same thing.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I think one quick last question that we were just going to get at you before we finish up was you guys being business partners, but also being partners.
Yeah.
What does that look like? You know,
What does that look like in the?
I know a lot of people have just like been pissed off with the people that we're working with all like this past year,
the people they live with.
or the people they live with.
Yeah.
You guys do both.
Yeah. How did you recession-proof your guys' relationship, and what was the lessons y'all learned?
And we just want the quick version, because we don't want to get super into
I
like
want the real version, man. I want the real version. I want the real
got
version.
all night. I guess.
Yeah, well, don't worry.
Hit us up.
Hit us up. Huh?
Counseling is great. I'd recommend that for any healthy person. It's important.
Yeah. And y'all had booze mixed into your shit too the whole time.
You just get drunk every day and you pretend everything's fine the next morning.
And that never works for me.
Okay, joking aside though, like counseling is great. It's good for every relationship, but with that, I mean, I think that Shane and I work really well together as two people just living life together. And like at the beginning of this conversation, Shane talked about how he started Born to Shake on his own. Like this was his baby for a really long. Here, I'll just hold it. Thank you.
Great communication.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah.
This was his baby for a really long time. But it was only until we started doing events together that we realized this would actually be a really good thing to do as a team.
Yeah.
And I think that if you are not a strong team, then you wouldn't be able to survive this together. But I think communication is key. I know it sounds cliche, but it really is. We survived being stuck in a house together for a long time. So if we can do that, then we can do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty spot on. I mean, you just figure out your roles in your business and figure out your roles in your relationship.
Yeah, I think even like what you're talking about, like with communication is key. Like what a lot of people don't realize is like communication is so much more than words, you know, and it's knowing boundaries, and it's knowing behaviors, and it's knowing personal space, and even like non-verbal communication, and how you react to people's, you know, like any sort of, or how you respond to anyone's reactions. You know, like there's so much more to communication than just saying like, hi, what's up, how you feeling? You know, like I think a lot of that takes getting to know each other and trial and error and working with each other. So, you know, it's like communication is key, but I think people just don't realize how much more communication involves and how much more complex it is than just saying your words.
Sometimes.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. I think that you have to understand what your business partner needs from another partner. Like
Totally.
I'm sure you guys went through this. Like you learn what
do
the
all
other
the time.
All the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Ongoing
just-
process, right?
you learn how they communicate. You learn how they take time to like decompress. You learn all these things. And so Shane and I had this time to like as a couple realize how we like live through things and how we like need to take time and how we go through things and how we like I just think that because we spent this time together, we knew what each other needed. And so when it came to business, it was like, you know, we got a really shitty email and I take that to heart, and Shane's like, I got this. Like that. So you just figure out what you need from your business partner. And it's like we skipped 5 steps because we already knew that being in a relationship. But had he been a specific person, or had I been a specific person, we would have known like this is not going to be a good business relationship.
Yeah. Cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I would just add to that like, we balance each other out. Like we're on like totally opposite spectrums.
So important.
Dude had me hanging
Like-
on every word there.
Yeah.
I was like, what is it? What is it?
Like what? Well, it's like both very opposite extremes. Like I am very, very like detail oriented, like to a fault, and like when I make a cocktail or like a recipe or something, it's like methodical. You know, I'm like what ingredients are gonna work well with each other. I'm like researching
that.
shit, and I'm like, if I do this and this, and
I love that about you.
right? Like, and it's great, but it's also like
that results in this.
I think so.
I love that about you.
but it which is great for a lot of things, but sometimes when you want to just get something fucking done, my like brain can't like skip that like
You need your partner.
neural
You need your
pathway.
partner.
I'm like too fucking OCD for that shit, and Nicole's just like running at 1,000 miles an hour. She's like, I got it. I'm gonna go here.
It's so true, because sometimes we'll be like, oh, we got like there's a specific spirit that someone wants to use for a cocktail. This is what we're gonna use, and Shane and I'll both be on like separate computers and we'll be looking things up. Shane will spend an hour, I'll spend 10 minutes. We come to the same conclusion, and so that's
whoa.
similar conclusions. But-
Okay. Maybe.
But that's why we work so well together.
Cool. Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for hanging with us.
Yeah.
Thanks for the drinks. Thanks for the cocktails, the segment, your insight.
That's been amazing. Just to hear what you guys have done as a business, to hear the rationale, you know what I mean, and really humanize it, you know what I mean? Amazing.
Appreciate you guys being on the show.
Thanks for having us. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've been stoked
Awesome.
to be here.
Fuck, you guys got me nice and toasty.
Okay. Yeah. Cheers to you guys. Yeah.
Cheers, guys.
Let's take a break. Have one more drink. Let's have another drink. We'll go. Let's go find another drink. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through Oh Honey Honey, which is one of our cocktail kits. It is a riff on a bee's knees. So we're gonna be using Wiseacres number 13 gin. Really beautiful. They're pretty new here, but they're making really good shit. Our honey tea syrup is honeybush tea with a touch of honey and then a touch of golden organic cane sugar. So super beautiful syrup. It's a little bit more complex than your classic honey syrup. And then we've got our herbal lavender bitters, a touch of rosemary, orange, and lavender in there. And then we've got fresh lemon juice. All right, so here we go. So 2 ounces of gin. Doing 0.75 of our honey tea syrup. The honey in there is from Meadow Vista too, so local honey. 0.75 lemon. And then we're doing 2 dashes of herbal lavender bitters. All right. Shake the shit out of it. All right. Coupe glass, fine strain. And then go in with a grapefruit expression. sure all the oils are in there. And then I'm just gonna make this pretty. Just about. So my little work of art here. There we are. Oh, honey, honey.
Well, bud, back from a little break.
That was a good pizza break.
Yeah, I'm happy about that.
Oh, I needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of pizza,
I'll hold this. How about you tell them about it?
oh, so we just had the best pizza. Got a couple pies from Jack's, pepperoni pizza, and a cheese pizza. I think they only do a couple pizzas a night, but man, do they kill it. Talking a little more like Brooklyn, New York, classic, heavy dough, a little extra pepperoni, extra cheese. But
Was that sesame seed on
the crust?
Yeah,
really, really nice.
Yeah.
So shout out to Chef James.
Chef
Chefy
James
Poo.
killing it. Chefy
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah. And look at this. Like, I mean, I know. So last time we got some Skinny Duke's pizza,
Yeah.
and they killed it. It was awesome. And we talked about their boxes and how badass they were because they actually had like great ad and like the whole box game
Yeah,
was
the whole kit and caboodle.
box program was on
Yeah.
point. But then
Yeah.
you get something like this, and you got Chef James just being like, "Grey Hearts to the only players in the game."
Man, that just shows you what personalization does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll take that any day.
Dude, all I ever wanted to be was the only player in the game, dog.
So good.
Yeah.
So Chef James, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, dog.
These pizzas are amazing.
Oh, man. Killed it.
We're basically gonna
Crushed
have
it.
pizza every episode, so we should probably start just reviewing them and talking about them a little bit.
We'll let
But
you know it's good.
they're both dynamite.
Yeah, man.
Jax, thank you so much.
Wow, so we're going to wrap
Anyways,
this up, man.
wrapping it up. Born to Shake.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was a great convo.
Yeah, that was dope.
That was cool. From the cocktails to the real talk was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, so I guess one of the big things we were talking about was that whole, recession-proof move, you know what I mean? And what that means in people's lives and stuff. And
Yeah.
it was dope to hear what they did to get through that. And I
Totally.
mean, we're still going through it. You
It was
know what I
inspiring,
mean?
man. They pivoted in so many ways.
Oh, man.
And I mean, we've had to adapt as well. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
cool to hear, like, and I know there's plenty of people out there that are like doing that. But it's just cool to sit down with someone and see how they're actually like pivoting in terms of what today looks like. You know?
Yeah. And on one things, I mean, they kind of cross over, which is super cool talking to them because, I mean, on a level of A, small business, B, entrepreneurs, C, they're also local in our community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things about being recession proof, I think really is community. And one of the things we saw and really talked about was like, what does that mean in your community? And what
Yeah.
can you do within your community to really, once again, I guess I say insulate ourselves. Because, I mean, who's to say this shit isn't going to happen in a couple years? Like, I mean, they're talking about variants of COVID that they're finding in South Africa.
Well, and that's
in
what we're
the
talking
UK,
about,
you know what I
recession
mean?
proof.
Like, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, that's,
this shit can happen in a couple
It's
years.
not just
What are we
like,
gonna
how
do?
do we deal with this specific scenario today?
Yeah.
That's not recession proof. Like, that's like dealing with an issue at hand. We're talking about recession proof being like, how do you deal with like economic crisis?
Yeah.
Today, tomorrow, and we're talking about even like take Kelowna for an example, and a lot of cities like deal with it.
Yeah.
But it's not just like suddenly shit hits the fan and it's tough. It's like actually January, February on any given year
It's tough.
is pretty tough.
Yeah, like, this
you
is
know?
the tough fucking
A
time.
lot of
Like,
cities
for us,
deal with it.
our industry.
Any tourist city definitely deals with it.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but like January, February, maybe like March, like coming into these like spring months, like like that whole issue of like how do you make these few months work, that's also the same conversation. It's just one is like a pandemic and one's like a seasonal everyday thing, so it's like it's not a different lesson almost. Like if you can almost break it down into like a plan or a format or a business plan, like how does that translate to your day-to-day operations?
Yeah. No, and I think the thing is what you kind of hit on there, and which is crazy about, I mean, if we talk about 2021 now, is that, as far as, say, an industry like ours, as far as the shop goes,
Yeah.
fashion, retail, these kind of things, this is really the slow time. right? But now you've compounded the slow time with the recession,
Right.
and a pandemic and uncertainty. So
Yeah.
now you've taken the slow time and you've exponentially, I want to say, increased it or made it harder. And when we're looking at these things, once again, I think a lot of people, and this is on the side note, what made it tougher is they thought we'd be out of it by now. And all of a sudden it's January 2021. Holy shit, the calendar says 2021 and I'm still dealing with the same shit. That's exhausting. That's breaking.
Yeah.
But on the furthermore, it's like, okay, shit, man, this is already going to be a tough time. Now it's super tough. You know what I mean? And what are the things as a community? And I think these are the conversations I know we've had. And, you know, talking to businesses is like, shit, what can we do together to try to make it manageable? You know what I mean? Even
Totally.
a time where you can thrive.
I think it brings on a bigger conversation
Yeah.
in terms of not just like, hey, like what's our next move survival mode?
Mm.
You know, it's like, what does Kelowna need? Like, what do we need as a community? And I'm just speaking Kelowna because we're here and this is the shop, but like this can translate to so
any
many,
city.
just like,
Yeah.
you know, but like, what are we doing as a community? What are we doing as a downtown core
Yeah.
that's actually setting ourselves up for success?
Yeah.
You know, that's actually like moving ourselves like forward. So like we've had a lot of time to really like self-reflect, whether it's like personally or as a business, in terms of like what's our next like move, what's our next 5 moves, what's our next 10 moves, you know. And I think it's really important not only to know that as a business, but really start to have that conversation as a community and with other business owners.
Yeah.
It's like, where are we growing together? Because I mean, if we're being completely frank, like, you know, Kelowna, think about the sky rises, think about like the university campus that's coming next year.
Yeah.
You know, like think about like all the things that are actually happening in the next couple of years. Like Kelowna's blowing up.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, another conversation that you and I were having is like the middle ground of what Kelowna is in terms of like Vancouver and culture, as well as like Alberta and kind of big box and prairie life.
Yeah.
And I mean, they all have their ways about them, but kind of Kelowna, like, I mean, and maybe you'll explain a little better, but how that falls in the middle, you know?
Yeah, no, I think what you definitely hit on the head is the fact that during this time, I mean, you look out, if we look out east, obviously issues in the prairies, you know, is difficult. People start moving towards Kelowna. You look out west, you have issues, obviously, with the recession.
Yeah.
The cost of life is so high out there already. We know we both lived in Vancouver, and all of a sudden you can't pay for that shit. Guess what? Kelowna becomes a more affordable alternative. And so I think what happens is Kelowna becomes the meeting ground of both sides.
Yeah.
And so here you have this convergence of two mindsets.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all very similar, but if we're going to differentiate at all.
The two, right?
Yeah, you know, you have a bit of like big box from the prairies. I mean, let's fact.
We're both from there.
No,
Yeah.
so this is a fact right here that like American companies will use the prairies as a testing market when they move into Canada because it's the most like the American market that they can find in Canada.
Right.
That's a fact. You know what I mean? And so you have that certain mentality and it comes here. There's a certain big box mentality. And I get it. I lived there. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you have people from the West Coast coming. And as we know, I think to me, the difference is like in the West Coast, you get respect almost for rocking brands that people don't know about. And in the prairies, you get respect for rocking brands that people do know about.
Yeah.
And it's almost two opposite mindsets.
And then you mix all that.
meeting here.
You mix all that with people that
Yeah,
are actually
do you know what I mean?
homegrown, right? Like
Yes.
people that are like from here as
Yeah.
well. And so there's all these different elements and variables
Yeah.
that come into the equation of Kelowna. And we're
And
talking
community
about when
and
we're talking
supporting business.
When we're talking about Kelowna
Yeah.
and let's say we're talking about like the downtown culture, we're talking about just culture in general, like you're talking about like there's different elements of like people that are homegrown from here that are like supporting local hard, people that are like
So
from Alberta.
passionate
Like, you know,
about
like we have
supporting
so many
homegrown.
different variables that are like actually accumulating into Kelowna. And what I found, like from an outsider's perspective, because like we're still a couple years like deep. We're new,
we weren't born here. We didn't grow up.
We're talking
Yeah,
about it, but
yeah.
we're also new to it. So like
yeah.
we're just having a conversation about it,
sure.
and this is our opinion. But from an outsider's perspective, you know, to me, there's a lot in Kelowna that I absolutely love.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I think
the
when
reason
we're-
why we chose it to be home.
Totally. And
Yeah.
I think when we're talking about these like great social, economic support in terms of, you know, like local community and everyone that's like, you know, like gearing up and surrounding themselves around you, I think they're strong and it's good. But I also don't want to be that brand and those people that's saying like it's enough, because I feel like how we're talking about the Alberta to BC and big box to small company, like there's a bit of like
different mindsets, different psychographics.
Like, to me, like, and I hate to say it this way, but I feel like there's a little bit of like an identity crisis in terms of Kelowna in culture.
There's a bit of a dichotomy, I think.
Yeah, like I'm not talking
yeah.
about. I'm not like if you think about things like wineries, or if you think about like they got a lot of things down. Like if you're talking about like outdoor lifestyle and like what, you know, BC and Kelowna have to offer, like there's a lot of things they got down pat, like they're ready for it. But when you're talking about like actual like culture and progression in what you need in a city, in a downtown core, I think there's a little bit lacking.
Especially when you focus on the downtown core.
Especially when you focus on the downtown core.
Where we are.
If you look at our downtown core, there's a lot that needs to be here that isn't. There's a lot that's lacking. And it's easy enough to say like, we support local and we love our community, and that's great because everyone, like, that's an easy conversation almost to have. That's like an easy hashtag trend word to like say like support local, and it's all good. And
what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So to actually do it is something else. But I think if we're talking in terms of longevity and like we're at a pinnacle point where we just went through a huge...
Remember, we're in the context of recession.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking. We're in this like moment right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of things are going to change in the next 5 years, in the next year, in the next, you know, like,
next 2 years.
And which direction we're going to take, which big box or local support, you know, avenue we're going to take.
We're going to throw our dollars.
It's going to depend on us. And I think there's a lack in that in our community. And I'm only saying that because I want to like call myself out on it. I want to call ourselves out on it and say like, you know,
what can we actually, I think
maybe we're not doing enough.
What can we do?
Yeah. And we've had that conversation. You know, like,
and we're having it still. And I think the crazy thing is what you bring up.
Like, you know?
Yeah. And I think what you bring up, and I think one of the, when you talk about the downtown core and we talk about this, and like you said, there's so many reasons to come to Kelowna from people from all sides, and they're coming, and it's growing. And what are we going to do to facilitate that growth? How are we going to direct that growth? And I think one of the things that, as we talk about recession proofing and we talk about our communities, is once again creating a local economy, but having one where, first of all, that's coordinated. And I think that's, as we said, what can we do more? I think I have to own up, and I'll say that I look myself in the mirror and I'll be like, fuck, man, do we need more of a business association in downtown Kelowna?
That's a big one that we talked about.
Yeah, that's a big one. And do we need to do more to get this going? Because we talk to business owners all the time. Is that on us?
How many businesses on Bernard Avenue, which is supposed to be like our main strip?
Yeah, that's our strip, dog.
How many of them are empty?
Well, Pandas is our strip for
dying. Like how many places are for lease right now? And like it's okay, but it's like, what's happening about it? You know,
what are we doing about it?
And so when I moved here a couple of years ago, like I kind of saw that already. I'm like, you know, for being a tourist town, if you go to other tourist cities and their main strip is pretty thriving, and to see this one not as thriving, and there's a lot of good things happening within our downtown core. Don't get me wrong.
There's people, business owners fighting the good fight,
again,
doing amazing things.
That's the easy conversation. I can give shout outs to every great businesses like that are doing, and we've been doing that, like that are killing.
But how can we help them?
But it's like how and how can we all survive? Is that we need more of it, you know? And so where's the tax breaks for culture in like intuitive businesses that are moving downtown, or like how's the city helping this actually, like, you know, like actually building?
Or are we all meeting together as business owners to sit in on weigh in on topics?
Here's a good example, and I hate this example because it was a good idea, but it sucked. Was
you said me make simple? It's a good idea, but it sucked, dog.
But okay, let's obviously this past summer we're in the midst of COVID. But one of the big things that the city decided to do was to open up Bernard Street
Yeah.
for the public.
Yeah, that's a mixed one for sure. Yeah.
And so they just decided to open it up. And so all walking, all whatever. And so the good part about this was that these businesses that were only able to have half capacity were now able to go onto their patios and extend their capacity. And so for them, like, great, they can have more sales, more business. I get that. But in terms of like logistics and in terms of like what it looked like, I mean, it was very half-assed. And it was very like, if you looked at it, there was like a bunch of like construction cages that were like closing off patios. The idea of like sitting on a patio is supposed to like be like having some like, some appetizers and a bottle of rosé, like to like really enjoy the charm of it. Instead, you feel like you're like caged in this like construction zone, like fence, like idea. And then half a block up, like there's like nothing happening and no businesses. Like it was Dude, bad. If you looked at it, like if you look at like cities that close down like a main street, like it's vibrant and it's pumping and it's good. And it's like, it could have been that.
Bro, but you know what it is to me? I swear, like you hit it on the head. I think the thing is what it was is you see an effort by the communities in the cities to try to salvage some kind of economics in any way possible. And because of that, you had a half-assed approach that didn't achieve the aims because it was such a half-assed step trying to say, hey, look we're trying to support your economics, but we don't want to have liability, so you're going to get this. And it was a mess.
Now I'm scared if they're going to do it next year. Like, are they going to do the same thing? Because like, are my friends from out of town going to come to Kelowna and come down? Like, am I going to invite?
And as a business, are we going to have to deal with that?
Am I going to invite them to that? Like, it wasn't good. It wasn't sexy. It was shit. Like, it was a bad. And
actually, I didn't want to be out there, dude. I didn't want to be out there.
No, like the whole thing was like pretty like half-assed, and it was really bad executed. Yeah. And so like, if you're gonna like take an initiative, like we need people on the ground floor like us, like other business owners downtown that like maybe have some insight. So when you said
or have more skin in the game,
more skin in the game.
Yeah,
like,
we need some people with more skin in the game.
Downtown core, like when you're talking about that, and don't get me wrong, if there's something out there that we don't know about, I know
holler at us if we're missing out on it.
I know there's associations out there. I know there's some downtown programs out there.
Man,
but if there's something we don't know that we can be a part of, we'd love to be. But if there's not, we'd also love to have that conversation. And if I really want to get really dirty about it, and not dirty, like,
does it better?
Like, I don't know, like, and this is something that just like hit me a little like on the nerve today. I didn't even bring it up earlier because I didn't even know if I wanted to bring it up, but I'm just gonna do it anyways. And so when I was walking to work today, and we're talking about like supporting local, we're talking about like what it takes to build our thriving community. And so I'm walking to work literally this morning, and I'm walking here like 10 a.m. and some guy pulls out of his car and just walks in front of me. He's a bit like, a little speedy. And I'm like, oh, that's the mayor. That's Mayor Basseron.
Like, was it actually the mayor?
No, it was the mayor. Like, it was the mayor of the city of Kelowna, so.
Other than Pavel?
No. It wasn't Pavel.
It wasn't Pavel. It's the other mayor.
It wasn't GH, the mayor. It was the mayor of Kelowna, and he was just walking down the street, and I was headed to work. And we're headed down Bernard, and he's just walking ahead of me, and then he takes a left turn at the light. I wasn't quite there, so I wait, and I take a left turn when I get there, and then I'm heading down Pandosy to work, and then I'm just like taking a glance, and I was just like wondering, I'm like, where's the mayor going? I just like, no big deal. Like, it's not, like there's the mayor. And he just walks into Starbucks and goes and gets a coffee.
I already know where you're going with this one, dog.
Immediately, I was pissed.
You're going to set Paulie off with that one, man.
I was angry.
Support local,
like, so
dog.
If you're talking
it's
about
not just a hashtag.
Local, we're talking about like building this community. We're talking about like making this a thing, like making like, like it just like set off some chords.
Not even to like be
Dude,
seen,
it's not even a thing. Like, he parked his car on Bernard Street, walked a block, and then walked a block and a half more to go to Starbucks.
Not even
and
to,
I'm not saying
Sprout?
like, but I'm saying like within 2 doors was the Bean Scene, which is local. Within a block was Pulp Fiction, which is local. But he had to go to Starbucks. And it's nothing against Starbucks. Everyone likes a little bit of Starbucks.
I said earlier I wasn't trying to be sensitive in 2021, but that one touched me right there, man. That one touched me, dog.
But it's just
Couldn't
tough.
even go to Beans
It's
here?
just tough that we're sitting here having a heated conversation about how can we make it work?
Yeah.
How can we make downtown work?
Paulie for mayor, dog.
And then we have the mayor who's going to Starbucks. I just don't get that part of it.
He's not local, baby.
Yo, man,
I just don't get that part of it.
No, man, like there's nothing I can say to you, but
So if it's not coming from the top down, where's it coming from?
you must like that fucking
So it's I don't even depend
Frappuccino
on these guys, this city council, this to execute, Bernard Street being closed and actually doing it right, or actually building a community in Bernard Street.
Yo, you
and
got put on
get,
bucket. You got put on blast.
I'm not expecting them. I'm not expecting the city to actually, give some tax breaks to people doing some great things downtown.
They're blocked
down. People let's say a great business like Frankie, we salute you.
Yeah.
They're dope. If you've ever been there, they're awesome. They're doing great vegetarian food and they're killing it. Their cuisine is unreal. Their chef, their team, all of it. They're killing it. But man, in any other city, where would you want to be? You'd want to be downtown. But they're not even thinking about that. Why? Because our downtown is lacking. So it's easy to say, yo, community focused, we're supporting local, I'm down with it.
Are you hearing
and
this,
I'm
yo?
saying it, and I'm down with it.
He's telling you, he's standing on that, man. 2 feet.
But if we're saying we don't have a long way to go, then you're lying to yourself. Wake up.
Yeah. So you know what Paulie just said right there, and I think that's beautiful. Before you can even recession proof yourself at all, you first of all gotta identify the fucking challenges and the fucking problems. Until you can circle them things, you gotta circle. And so what you did is you circled that shit, and it's yo, our leader, it starts at top. And if we can't even support local at top, what the fuck are we saying, man? Anything is there needs to be more leadership, and there needs to be more focus and more coordination, And I think crazy to recession proof ourselves. It's, as we said, it's on so many levels. It's personal level, business level, money level, financial level. What are you doing to pivot? You know what I'm saying? And then on a community level, what are you doing to support each other? And what are you doing to really coordinate your efforts to create a local economy so when shit hits the fan, guess what? We're not sitting there getting our supply lines cut because we can't contact with, California or Mexico or France or whatever. Guess what? We're cool in the Okanagan. Do we not have water, food,
coffee
clothing,
shops, support
shelter?
your local coffee shops.
Is it not all local? What else do we fucking need, man? Can't you telling me you can't go local for your fucking coffee? I don't even know what to say about all that. I'm gonna let that, because you know what? Seriously, dude, I said in the beginning of this episode, 2021 is trying to be so sensitive. So I'm trying to just drop that and just say do better.
Just do better.
Do better. It's 2021, dog. Do better.
Because we're... A question?
Mr. Powers, what's up?
Powers with the question.
Is fashion recession proof?
Yes. Oh, you know what? Of course it is. Because you
Maslow's theory.
Is food... Hang on. I'll ask you a question. Is food recession proof?
100%.
Of course. Is shelter recession proof?
100%.
Well, you got 3 needs for mankind: food, clothing, shelter.
Maslow's
In there, I
theory,
said clothing.
Man. Yeah.
Clothing is before fashion, right? So, of course, fashion is recession-proof. Now, what do we do to make it recession-proof? Like Greyhearts, we do a lot of things, man. Baby, sustainable. Fucking Pat the Mayor just said it. Sustainable fashion, right? There could be alterations, repairs. Paulie's the man behind alterations and repairs. I'm going to talk on that, buddy.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a big part of what we do. But at the end of the day, when it comes to clothing, like you said, maybe fashion is a broader term of talking about what recession proof might mean. Clothing in general is, and fashion in 2021 is a little more about how do you sustain the clothes you already have. We get I think in the past week, half of our business have been people bringing in their alterations.
Oh, dude. You know what? By the numbers, I think it's more than half.
So I mean, to us, the fact that we, offer alterations is, kind of saying what we do. We'd love to sell you a new pair of jeans, all good. That's dope. But it's like, don't get me wrong, like we ain't making our bread and butter on just like selling you a brand new pair of like, you know, kicks or denim. It's like we also rework vintage clothes. We also bring in vintage clothes, and we'll take care of the clothes you already have in your closet.
Dude,
So I mean, like that's
Paulie's preaching at you, and I'm gonna say this. I'm just an example of what Paulie's saying right now. Paulie made this vest. He upcycled it. This is a new Levi's vest that we had on ice. Paulie upcycled it. He marked it first of all with all the shit from Grey Hearts year one. We'll get on that.
Yeah.
Woo-wee. So this is upcycled. This hoodie right here, this is vintage diesel, man. I don't even know how many years old this is. This Wu-Tang jersey right here, vintage. So what I'm telling you, reworked, vintage, old. You combine that with some new stuff, that's mixing highs with lows, baby. You know what I mean?
And it depends where you're coming from. Like, I mean, like, if you're talking about, like, is fashion recession proof or is it, like, sustainable is another good way to put it. You know, like, it depends where you're coming from. Like, you know, like, we sell new clothing here as well. We don't just do vintage and reworked.
But quality.
But it's quality. So sometimes I think people think of, like, sustainability in terms of fashion, and they think that they have to buy secondhand or they have to, you know, be like, sometimes
Has to be old.
yeah,
Or, yeah.
Sometimes it's buying it right the first time.
Yes.
So sometimes it's buying the quality of it.
Forever
And,
pieces.
Yeah, like
or
I mean,
quality.
like yeah, I'm really happy with like Levi's, which is what I'm wearing right now, and I'm pumped on them because they're actually giving me a piece. For one, they're OGs.
First of all, hang on. Those got hemp in them?
This is a hemp cotton.
Woo-wee.
And they actually have like some pretty like cool progressive lines. But what I love about Levi's is that they're actually built to last.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So it's like you're not just like donating them after a year or two.
Especially the premium
You know,
red tab.
like,
We got that in
especially
store.
premium red tab. You know, like, but what I like about them is like they're actually making clothes that I'm probably gonna keep for the next decade. So sometimes it's just about buying it right.
The first time.
So yeah, the first time.
Yeah.
So I think that's a conversation.
Yeah.
We
And that's
really
slow
like to
fashion
have
over fast fashion.
with like our guests and customers
yeah.
that come through the doors. Is like, yo, let's get you into the right piece the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not even about being recession proof. It's not even about being like sustainable. It's about just having the right conversations and getting people in the right like clothing. That doesn't even have to be like the
You're
top
saying-
conversation.
You're saying, like, depending whether it's recession or not, if you're honest and you put people in quality stuff, it won't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I hear that.
Yeah, you wouldn't ask people.
Do
like,
it right the first time, dog.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait till recession to do it right.
No.
Do it right the first time, man. Like, shit.
All good.
Yeah, man. Like, what? I think it's probably about time. We probably have to sign off on this, man.
I'm spent, man.
Thank you all for joining us, man.
Feel dejected,
We'll see you
rejected,
soon,
still
man.
I'm still floating. And it's better than my jet with the White Sox. I'm steady slaving for days, just give me one shot. Slaving all day,